Hey guys, welcome back to RHR Jen. I'm so glad you're here. Guys, I have such a good show for you today. With all this Andrew stuff going on and the Harry and Meghan of it all, and William and Catherine, I really wanted to go into all of it. I had a lot of questions, as did you guys. And so I've brought in a friend of the show to break it down with me and talk through all of it because there's just so much to it. And I wanted to get his opinion on things. So if you will, join me in welcoming back John Witherspoon. Hey, John, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Lots going on.
Is this the part where you said you have such a good show? When does that start? Is
When
that
I
right?
get my next guest after you're done, then
Okay.
my
All right. Okay. Just want to make sure I'm not responsible for the good show.
oh, okay, good. No pressure at all. No, we can have a mediocre show. People are used to it from me, so it's fine.
Fair enough. Okay. I feel
How are
better.
you
Thank you.
doing? You doing okay?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
Good. So, I mean, just to dive in, have you been keeping up with what's going on with the royal family? They seem kind of busy.
I've heard there's been a little news. I've
Yeah.
heard there's been a little bit of news. Yeah.
A little bit. Actually, before we do dive in, how can we support you if people are just joining you for the first time here? Where can they find you and what can we do to help?
Oh, well, thank you. The best thing to do is to jump on my Instagram,
Okay.
Witherspoon DC,
Okay.
and you know, when I start my YouTube channel, I know people are tired of hearing when, but it's in the works. I'll make an announcement there. So that would be the best thing to do.
Okay, you got it. We're happy to do that. Well, and it's interesting timing since you said you wanted to start up a fully Andrew centric channel.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. Well,
Good luck with that.
yeah,
Well, you'll have some content for a few years to come, I would imagine.
I think so. I think so. It's going to be interesting.
It definitely will be. Well, as we kick this off, as I always like to remind everyone, of course, you are an attorney from the DC area in case this is their first time seeing you. And everything we discuss here is just our opinion.
Yes.
We like to talk about this stuff sometimes offline. So we share opinions and I like to invite you on to have you break things down for us, but you don't actually represent anybody. And of course, the law can be a little bit different in the UK. So anything else you want to add to that as we dive into that?
Well, one of the things that I have been asked about recently that I think is confusing for a lot of people is
Mhm.
there are these allegations that the former Prince Andrew has been involved in, or he's alleged to have committed misconduct in public office. That's the allegation. And he has maintained his innocence, by the way. I think that's important to throw out there as well. He has insisted that he has done nothing wrong. But the thing that I think has confused people has been the notion that this is a common law offense. And I just thought it would be helpful to maybe explain that because I've gotten a number of questions directed at me about it. And the gist of it is common law is also sometimes known as judge-made law.
Okay.
And it means that there's not a specific statute that you can look up, statute 123 ABC says you shall not throw garbage out of the car window as you're driving down the highway. It's not that kind of thing. It's it's more akin to, as I said, judge-made law. And the best example that I can give people is, at least in the United States, we have what's referred to as common law marriage. And by the way, it's not in all US states, it's only in some US states. And the states where it does not exist, it's a little bit backwards. In the states where it does not exist, in some cases, it's that the legislature has said, we will not permit this.
Okay.
So, for instance, in a non-common law, common law marriage state,
Mhm.
um, in some cases that they have specifically said, we're not going to do this. So don't even try and come in here. But common law marriage basically says, if you have been living under the same roof with someone and you've been sleeping in the same bed and you have had children together and you have both of your names on the mortgage and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In other words, you're acting like a married couple, except that you don't have the piece of paper that says you got married. Okay. So in that type of a situation, if let's say there's a dissolution of the marriage, or one of the parties moves out, okay, or something else happens that you need to split up the property.
Sure.
In the common law marriage state, the courts will come along and say, you know what, you've behaved like you've been married for so long. The right thing to do, as I said, you've got children, you've got a house that you've both been paying the mortgage on. Well, it's not fair to try and split this up and give it all to one party. We're going to treat you as though you were married officially, and we're going to divide up the property. Okay. So in other words, again, so many judges have reached that conclusion in that case, that situation for so long that it effectively has become part of the law, even though, as I said, it's not written down in a code book somewhere. So the problem that presents in the Andrew situation is that there's not a specific definition. You can kind of outline some things, some points that you have to sort of look at and check off, but there's nothing specifically that you can point your finger at and read and say, did he do thing number 1? Yes. Did he do thing number 2? Yes. Did he do thing number 3? Yes. Okay, then let's make a decision about whether he's actually committed this offense or not. So that makes things a little bit more complicated. And I think that's really what people are getting at, the commentators, when they talk about, this is a common law offense, et cetera, et cetera. It's a little bit more vague. It kind of requires more of a sniff test and a little bit more of an intuitive look than it would if, as I said, there's a list of things that you can just tick off and say, okay, yes, he's done it, he's guilty, now let's figure out what the punishment is.
That makes sense. I gotcha.
Yeah, I hope that's helpful to people.
It is. I think so. Yeah. I didn't fully understand it myself, so I appreciate you taking the time to explain that to us.
My
now,
pleasure.
He's been alleged. I mean, it's been alleged. Can you explain what he's being accused of? Is what I'm trying to what's he's been alleged to have done?
Yeah, it's misconduct in public office is the allegation, and again, that's a very broad term. And I think everybody sort of has an intuitive understanding of what it is. It's like kind of when the kid comes home and he's in a bad mood and the mom says, what happened? And well, I was accused of, misbehaving in class. Okay, well, we kind of understand what that's all about. And this is something sort of analogous to that. Okay. But it involves deviation from what would be a generally expected type of behavior. You've been given a job to do. You know what the job is. For whatever reason, you didn't do the job, or you did do the job, but you did some other stuff on the edge of the job, which maybe you should not have done. And in his case, I think the allegation is, you were given some classified information that had the potential to move stock markets and do some things, that would basically be considered insider trading. And you not only shared that information with people that shouldn't have seen it, you had the potential to gain something in return for having allegedly, again, shared that information. And then the person that you shared it with is a person that we don't care for a lot, Jeffrey E, we'll call him, or Jeffrey Epp. And so we got a lot of problems with this.
Yeah.
And that's where the public outrage, I think, has really come from.
And it's alleged that it wasn't just, again, allegations, but wasn't just, it eventually made its way to Epp. It's that within, I want to say, minutes to hours,
apparently
immediately diverted. Yeah, allegedly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I just say as well, I mean, for people who have not worked in an environment, and I happen to have at a couple of junctures, but you get a document in a sealed envelope, I mean, I'm just talking about my own experience. You get a document in a sealed envelope, and I always knew what it was because it appeared every week. But it says it's for you and for you only. And that means that if the person sitting next to you has the same security clearance that you have, that doesn't mean you can just show it to them because they have the same security clearance. It's like, no, it's for you and it's only for you. And
Okay.
if the person next to you needs to see it, well, they can go back to the source and they can get it on their own. But it's not for me to show it to everybody else that I know that has my same security clearance. So that's particularly important. But you open the envelope, you look at the document. If you need to keep it overnight, it goes into the locked drawer.
Okay.
And at the end of the week, when you don't need it anymore, you put it in a burn bag, which is then collected by a Secret Service officer who's actually uniformed and armed. He's an armed police officer that comes. So they're not messing around. It's kind of like, you understand this is serious stuff. And the idea, if you've ever been in that type of an environment, the idea that you would just turn around and send it here and send it there to random people. And it's not just, oh, I thought this, you might be interested in this. It's like, no, you might be interested in this and I might get something in return for having shared this.
Exactly.
That's a really, really big deal.
Absolutely.
It really is. And the really unfortunate thing about it is that when you're in a trust position, there's only so much they can do. They go back and, when you get your clearance, they go back and they talk to people, your neighbors and your teachers and your former employers and your friends. And the best that they can do is to say, we think that you seem like an okay person and you will know the right way and the wrong way to handle specific information that comes across your desk. It would not have been difficult in the case of the documents that I was talking about that I got every week. It would not have been difficult at all for me to fax them to someone or scan them and, take a picture with my phone. And you just don't do it. You just don't do it. And I think everybody understands that. So for him to do what he's alleged to have done, it not only is dumb and it not only breaches trust, but it's just offensive because it's like,
you were trusted with this information for a reason.
Yes, all you had to do was do the right thing. And everybody knows what the right thing and the wrong thing is, but you just don't do it.
Right. Absolutely.
Because you realize, and I think that that's part of where all this talk of entitlement and, he's a jerk and he's, allegedly, and people have said, he's allegedly petulant, he's difficult to get along with, and he's disrespectful to other people. I think that's really where people understand that this is an unlikable person as well. And I think that's part of what the outrage is. I mean, again, going back on the, whatever, is it the Ranker poll, I think, where he was basically dead last among the members of the royal family, with Harry and Meghan not too far behind, by the way. But, it's one of those situations where you just look at it and you say, we just don't like this. It rubs us the wrong way. And that's where the real problem is going to be.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where the Harry and Meghan problem, I know we're not talking about Harry and Meghan yet, but I think that's...
We're headed there, yes.
Yeah, I think that's where the Harry and Meghan issue is going to come up as well, whether they know it or not. And we'll get into that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm so on the same page. Now, the word treason has been thrown around, as I understand it, as well. And I know, again, just allegedly, but thoughts on that? I mean, that's a big word.
It's a very big word. It's a very big word. And I have not heard anybody use that word in an official capacity.
Sure.
But people have said and speculated, well, this could turn into something in that direction if this goes on long enough.
Yeah.
So I find that very interesting.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. Treason is the kind of thing that there have been just to talk about cases in the United States, Aldrich Ames and the guy whose name escapes me at the moment. He was a FBI agent, and he was basically selling secrets to the Russians.
Yeah.
And there was a movie made about him called Breach.
Julian, is it? Or no, that's different. I was thinking that Julian
Oh,
guy.
Julian Assange. Yeah, well,
Mhm.
that was WikiLeaks.
Yeah, that's different.
Well, and there's Edward Snowden as well. Now
Mhm.
he managed to find himself in Moscow just by
Mhm.
just vacationing, I guess. But
Sure.
there are other examples where people have literally sold state secrets
Mhm.
for money.
Right.
And one of the things that I just read this morning, which I think is very interesting, is that part of the reason treason has come up as a possibility is
Mhm.
that Andrew was in the military for a long time. This could be a very long thread that once it's been pulled,
Right.
it was not only okay, he was doing stuff allegedly that would have provided him access or some sort of compensation, whatever, from talking about business related secrets,
Right.
but he also had he was, I believe, 22 years in the British Navy and rose to the rank of commander, I believe.
Mhm.
So he knew some things and he probably saw some things. And now people are wondering, okay, well, how deep does this go?
Absolutely. I mean, I gotta ask again. Allegedly, he was questioned for something like 11 hours the other day, from what I understand. So I can't imagine it's just one or two things they're talking to him about, if this is the
That's
initial interview. So,
that's right. And I will tell you, I have not been on the receiving, thankfully, not been on the receiving end of an interview like that. But I've done a few other things that were day long, very intense exercises.
mhm,
And I will just say it becomes almost impossible
yeah.
to I mean, if you have some deception that you want to throw out, there's
Mhm,
no way that you can maintain that deception for 11 hours. And that's one of the reasons these interviews take that long. So
mhm.
I would suspect that they probably got some really good information out of him.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
we,
again,
yeah,
hypothetically, if he's not used to any kind of anything, he can get out of any situation that's too hard, or like I do with Harry and Meghan anytime he wants. I gotta imagine that's like extra uncomfortable.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I agree.
just a thought, but yeah,
Yeah.
interesting completely. Let's see here, going on, I just had some questions on Prince Andrew, if you don't mind.
Sure.
um I mean, what do you think, again, just our opinion, what do you think about the allegations against him, especially in regard to his connection with Ep? Because I think a lot of people are confusing this 11-hour questioning or whatever it was with that. That seems, it's tied to, but it's not Virginia related.
Correct.
Yeah,
And
I'm
and
trying to.
I think that is going to be a very interesting nexus, I think, when all is said and done, because I suspect that what's going to happen is that they're going to say, look, we've got the goods on you as far as the transmission or inappropriate use of this stuff that was given to you and you only, and then you turned around. But let's see what we can work out in terms of your knowledge of this other elephant in the room, which is the young women that were allegedly in the orbit of Jeffrey Epp and in your orbit allegedly as well. And maybe we can work something out if you can give us some really good information along those lines. I
Okay.
suspect that that's probably where this is going to end up. And that would not be unusual.
Okay.
There are a lot of times when there are trade-offs between law enforcement and defendants
Mhm.
that center on, okay, we're going to hang this potential court case, very expensive, very embarrassing
Mhm.
court case out here,
Yeah.
but you can get away from all that, and you can skate on all that stuff if you give us the appropriate information over here on this other little matter that we're concerned with. And I think that that's probably the way it's going to go.
Okay, that's interesting.
So, I think, by the way, people have asked me several times what was really going on as far as the Jeffrey Epps situation. Why were all of these guys, these men, so interested in going down to the island and so interested in hanging around the townhouse in New York and so forth? I don't think it's just a question of, okay, all of these grown men who should have known better in these elite circles, I don't think they were all just interested necessarily in young girls. I think what probably was going on, in the same way that there are people who will try to go to Africa and go to safaris where they know it's illegal to hunt and kill an elephant, for instance, or a rhinoceros or some other endangered animal. They know it's illegal, but there's a real thrill from being able to do that.
Okay.
And so it's possible. There are people that make that available. It's also a thrill in the same way for people to get on a motorcycle, and the speed limit is 70 miles an hour, but no, they want to go 150 miles an hour because they got away with something. And I think that sort of informs part of the mindset of some of these people. And Prince Andrew may have been one of those people as well. I think in the same way that he was thinking, oh, I've got this secret information. Boy, it feels cool. I can pass this along to some other people and also get some, favors in return for doing that. It's the same thing as, I can feel good about myself because I've gotten access to something secret and something special and something that very few people have been able to experience.
Right.
And I think ultimately that's probably also going to come out as more and more people dig into this Jeffrey Epps situation. And keep in mind, there's 3 million pages. I continue to see news stories about things that I had identified very early on because I went looking for them in the 3 million pages of files. And I found them. And then I thought, okay, how long is it going to be until the mainstream media picks up on this? And in some cases, it was weeks.
Okay.
Someone just sent me an article within the last, I guess it was the end of last week, dealing with this particular subject that I was familiar with. But I had found it, kind of almost immediately when the documents were first released. And I thought, again, how long is it going to take before the mainstream media picks up on this? Because it's worth reporting on.
Yeah.
But nobody got around to it. So I think we're going to continue to see information come out of the 3 million pages. And who knows? There are some people who say, nope, this is it. We've released everything that we're going to release. And then in other cases, people are saying, no, but there's still all this other stuff out there. There's a whole nother tranche of documents. Tranche, Meghan, that's her favorite word. Tranche of SKUs, a tranche of Jeffrey Epps documents that's still out there somewhere that may end up being released at some point. It may be during the current administration. It may be during a future administration. So we'll just have to wait and see. It's going to be very, very interesting.
For sure. I'm just off the cuff here. This isn't on my list of questions. I'm just thinking okay, I'm taking the disgusting elements out of it, of the accusations. And I'm just talking about he's a prince. He had access to everything,
Was a prince.
Yeah, right. Past tense.
Yeah, got it.
And we'll get to that. But I'm just saying, it just breaks my brain, the idea, again, taking the disgusting stuff out of it. Just the idea that somebody can be so stupid, allegedly, but so stupid to surround himself with somebody. Again, I know I'm being naive, taking the disgusting part out, but just thinking what could what thrill could somebody offer you if you're part of a royal family? Do you see, like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to, I'm blown away by that. Like, why wouldn't his internal alarm go, danger, danger?
Well, it's a really good question, I think. And I will say that this applies to both Andrew and his nephew
Mm-hmm.
named Harry.
Yeah.
And here's what I think is going on here. And I'm not a huge follower of the British royal family, and I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist, but I think when you grow up in an environment like the royal household,
Mm-hmm.
you are in such a bubble and you're treated in a way that prevents you from learning sort of the life lessons that most people would learn. I don't think one thing occurred to me the other day. You look at Harry's behavior at age 41, 42, whatever he is now. You look at Andrew's behavior in his late 50s and early 60s.
Mm-hmm.
These are people that, unlike the rest of the world, I think, have never sat down and said to themselves, this is an aspect of my personality, my behavior, whatever it is, that I need to work on. I mean, I think we've all got something about ourselves, whether we want to admit it or not, but we say to ourselves, you know what? I don't like the reaction from other people when I behave or I act a certain way or when I talk a certain way. I'm going to work on that.
Yeah.
And I don't think Harry or Andrew have ever had that kind of an internal conversation where they think to themselves, if I want to continue to be liked and admired and be a person that people want to work with and want to be around, I need to make some improvements. They have never had to have that internal conversation. And I think that has seriously come back to bite both of them in the backside. And I think, incidentally, I think for someone like Meghan, and I would say even like Fergie, I don't think they even realize that that's a conversation that might be worth having, because I think there's so much narcissism involved in both of those women that I don't think that there's really um, a need to self-improve in a way that would have borne some fruit.
Yeah, that's such a good point. You're right. I feel the same way. You and I have talked both offline and here on the show about, we all have blind spots. I've pointed out that you very kindly I've asked for your advice on channel stuff before because I just get in my own head and I can't see it. And you very kindly have helped me out. Sometimes better, sometimes no, just kidding. No, you have, because I think that's just it's true of all of us. We can't see what's too close to us sometimes,
Yes.
and we're too emotionally invested. So I look to people like yourself who, and I ask for help, and you've done the same. And I think it's true of most people, but I don't think Harry and Meghan think like that. I don't think they see themselves as needing to learn anything or
That's,
missing anything.
I
Can
agree
you
completely.
imagine going through life like that? I can't. I screw
Well,
up
I
every
can't.
day.
And when I say that I feel sorry for somebody like Andrew or sorry for somebody like Harry,
Mhm.
it's not because I approve of their behavior, but it's like, look, the circumstances. I mean, they both talk all the time about, I am a member of the British royal household. Oh, it's like, okay, well, that's definitely a double-edged sword. There's
Right.
a lot of benefit that comes from that
Mhm.
that you seem to not appreciate. But besides that, there's also some huge downsides to that. The other thing about Harry, I mean, Andrew and Fergie have largely lived separate lives for some time now. But the thing about Harry is that the sounding board that he does rely on is probably one of the worst sounding boards that he could have at his disposal.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I really hope you enjoyed this part of the sit down with John. He's so thoughtful in the way he takes his time to answer our questions, to dive into all this stuff, to give his thoughts and opinions. It just means the world to me. So the way we can help him out is by leaving him those very kind comments. Thank you so much for that. And let him know how much we appreciate him. and by following him on Instagram. He's Witherspoon DC on Instagram. That's going to do it for me, and I can't wait for you to see the next part of the sit down with John Witherspoon. Thank you guys so much, and have the best day. Bye-bye.